Just start recording. So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream for ustream.tv and also recorded for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. Today I'm using my little book of watercolours because I want to work very dry. I'm using I had a new delivery yesterday of my creative Bible. And I wanted to use it in a way that I wanted to colour in a watercolour way, but use my watercolouring. So at the back there's a little bit of show through, but absolutely no bleed through whatsoever, and your page is lovely and flat. And I would like to have all my lovely colours in there that have no but not destroy the book, have it look exactly the same. And I do apologise, we have a bark alert. You have to excuse me. Alfie, psst, psst, psst. Alfie, Alfie. I'm trying to distract him, otherwise he will sit in the kitchen and bark for hours. Oh, it must be the cat. So I'll have to throw something at the door in a minute to get his attention. So if I just press, just bear with me 2 seconds, I just have to text her to come and stop the dog. Otherwise he will bark there all day. Oh, thank you, Nigel. Could you just put my daughter and stick a bone in his mouth, please? Thank you. I know what he's done. He's thrown his little ball underneath the units. I know what he's done. We took when we had the new floor down. Could you please shut my door, darling, please? Thank you. Why is it the minute you start recording, you get the recording monster? So I've got 2 of these actually. That's a 5 and that's a 10. Nigel. It doesn't help that my husband's. Nigel? Yes. Could you please put the door to? Thank you. Sorry about that. It's just I'm in the wrong place really. I should. Could you please push the door to? Thank you. Sorry about that. Oh, sorry about that. Oh yes, you have the ink tents as well. They're gorgeous. I have to say they're lovely, but I'm not sure what they do on here. And I think with 72 pencils, I've got enough. I've got enough colours to be able to make some really nice images. So I'm just going to kind of do this and do this. Bear with me 2 seconds, and that's why I really wanted. Not sure how I'm going to get here, but let me just bear with me 2 seconds. That should be okay. That was probably easier said than done now. Colour. Yeah, I've basically got a camera on my hand, but here we are. So I'm going to do this, and I wanted a really nice colour. So I'll just see if I can flick. And probably this isn't necessary, but it's a nice surface to hold, because these pages are rather flimsy. Oh, and I've got another little job that I need to do as well. I normally put piece of kitchen roll. Sorry, I normally put a piece of kitchen roll on here, and that prevents me. Can we see that? Is that in focus? Oh, Suzanne, that's not nice. I just put my ink straight in. Just bear with me 2 seconds. They're in the bottom of my little bag. The only thing you could do is very carefully tap with the lid on. Tap it through, or with a damp baby wipe, wipe the nib. Sometimes that helps. But I must admit, I was quite lucky. Mine just started straight away. Suzanne has the parallel pens. And that's what I did. Ow, sorry, that was my thing. So if I can just very carefully get into here. Now I used that one up there, so I wanted more of a the pale vermilion looks a nice colour. So I didn't think about this before I did it, so I'm fiddling about literally with about 3 inches between me and the camera. So I'm using pale vermilion. No, I'm not going to use pale vermilion. I know what I'm going to use. I quite like these. These are gorgeous colours. I'm going to use Scarlet Lake. I think I'll use Scarlet Lake. So you've just got to be careful you don't have a drip on the bottom of there, because sometimes that's difficult. So I'm just going to start and push the colour out. So it's a very, very damp brush. It's not very wet at all. And I want just to stroke the colour in. And again, that's where it works quite nicely. And if you go to the next section, I couldn't use a large rigger for this because it would be too damp. But if I'm quick, this is going to just about work. And it does take a bit of practice. You need to do this on a practice page, because you don't always get it as dry as you need it. And then you're going to have a bit of a crinkle. But there is a lady that does the Bible journaling I was watching, and she irons hers afterwards. So if you did get a little bit of crinkle, you could iron your page. So, but I like this way of working. Now I wanted a little bit more darker colour here, so I'm being a little bit wetter. So you've just got to be that bit careful. The best thing to do is to practice on a napkin. And if you can watercolour on a napkin, you can watercolour in your Bible journal. There seems to be a little bit of a crinkle there, so I'm hoping that will dry out. But I've got quite nice watercolour effect. Can everybody see that? Is that good? Oh, good. Glad you've got that going. Can everybody see that? It seems to be at a different angle. I don't know why I'm at a different angle. The camera seems to be at a different angle. That's a bit strange. I don't like that angle. Can everybody see okay? I'm just going to have, now this might be a total disaster, but I'm just going to have a bit of a play with this, because I don't like the angle. So bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just going to see if I can get, probably the silly thing to do now, isn't it? Halfway through a stream. Ah! That's better. Seems to be something very wrong with my camera at the moment. Right, so if I just push that there. And that's a lot better. That's a lot better. Sorry about this. I moved the camera the other day to show the puppies, and I've never got it back in its right place. And that will make sure that we have we're not going to knock the camera, and we're in focus. That looks better. That's better. It was at a really silly angle. Can't move the Bible now, but never mind. So I like to push that flat because the first page is on a ridge, so it's difficult to see. And I can't think what to do with the stamens, so I'm leaving those. I'm just going to stroke with the Scarlet Lake, I think I said it was, wasn't it? Yes. And there was a little bit behind there. And again, this is a really nice way of working. And I don't intend to read from the Bible. I will probably have a section that I've read, because I can't really read out loud. I find it really difficult to read out loud. And I think it's a personal journey that you have to be in. But it's more technique, really, that I wanted to show people about what you can do in your Bible without, I don't mean making a mess of it, but without altering it too much, but having your own personal journey in it, if that makes sense. Anybody got any questions? Pop them in caps. But it's a nice way of working. Again, you've got a tablespoon of water. You've got to be a little bit careful with bigger areas. Smaller areas are very easy. Big areas are a bit more of a concern. So, but just take your time, and then when you feel that the paintbrush is dry, just take a drop more and start from. Every time it's got to be a drop of water, paintbrush in the water, dry as possible, pick up as much paint as possible, and then stroke the colour in. And if you're lucky, you pick up colour instead of damp. And you can see on the paper palette as well that you're picking up colour, so that's also quite nice. And you can manipulate the colour a little bit to get that really nice watercolour effect. It's not going to be as good as in the Imagimorphia and the not the Imagimorphia, the Colin Thompson one, because you can work that little bit wet in that, because obviously that's a proper page, whereas this Bible page are very thin. But it's just quite nice to push the colour around. And it's just a nice way of working. And it's peaceful, and I think that's what you need when you're doing your journaling. So there's quite nice effects on there. Yes, you do kind of go into your own little meditating worlds. Suzanne says she wants to do her Bible and meditate. You do, because you're thinking about, I mean, not so much because this is kind of the thingy page, but when you get into the words and into creating your own words, when you're reading the Bible. I mean, this isn't a colouring in book. This is a book where you read a passage, and then you colour. And obviously you're thinking about that while you're colouring. And very similar to when you're colouring a normal colour book. You know, you're in your own little world, you're chilling out, and you're kind of doing that wonderful. Oh bless! My husband's made me a wonderful cup of tea. I will try to drink before it goes cold. The thing with this is that once you've got that colour on the end of your paintbrush, you can't stop. Like I stopped, it's now completely dry. That's how dry we're working. So if you do stop to look at something or talk to anything, you've got to go back again and start from scratch, because the colour will not wait for you. It's a very fine line between wet and dry. And that's kind of but I wanted to show that you can do this without I wouldn't say ruining your Bible, but without changing it. I mean, I've seen some beautiful artistic ones, but I would like to see my lovely crisp pages stay lovely and crisp. And again, this is a big area, so you know you're going to get a bit of crinkle. But I have to say, I couldn't really be bothered with prepping all the pages and gessoing and then drying it with a hairdryer, because again, I want to do this when I'm out and about. I want to do this on a Sunday when I'm stuck behind a model railway show. And I can't go anywhere else, but I can sit and do this. And putting a hairdryer on is a no-no for me. Or I should say not a hairdryer, a heat gun, sorry. It's just that as a tight Yorkshire lass, I use my hairdryer instead of a heat gun. I hasten to add, I don't emboss, because obviously you cannot emboss with a hairdryer. But because I don't emboss, I can use my old hairdryer. But this is a lovely way of working. Again, there's no stress on your hands. It's all in the bendy brush. There is a bit of crinkle on here because it is a big flower. But as I say, I think that lady, but I could live with that little bit. There's nothing at all on that one. I can live with that little bit. There's going to be a little bit because it's almost impossible to have such a big area and have that fine line between wet and damp and dry. And that's what you've got to hit. You've got to hit this a minute or 30 seconds before it dries. And that's pretty hard to do every single time. And then have a continuity of colour. But there's no reason why you can't go over another, like if I want to do this again, go over darker, which I've just done. So you can still do that. You can still do that. Sorry, puppy alert. Samantha, Danny, shut the door because they're making a lot of noise. The dogs are making a lot of noise. Thank you. You can go back in and stroke more colour in. But you don't get very much time between that wet watercolour and dry that you need to keep it completely flat. As I say, this has gone a little bit crinkly, but it is a big area. But if you can watercolour on a napkin, do some black and white images on a napkin, that's a real good indication of how dry you want to be. And again, you're just touching the colour. And when you're colouring a napkin, it just stops short of your black line and it will run to it. But if you can control the water on a napkin, then you've almost cracked this. It takes a while. It took me a good few goes to get it. But you can do it. But it's like everything, you know. I wanted this Bible page to be special. I didn't want to just go in there with gesso and scrap paint all over it. That's not my thing. I wanted to do delicate watercolouring, delicate colours, and these watercolour pencils actually do this. Oh, my little wonder. Our little monster has had a doo-doo outside instead of in the kitchen. We rescued a King Charles, and he's a beautiful little thing, but he's not house trained, so he's a bit of a naughty boy. So we have to make a big fuss when he goes outside. I feel like taking a photograph that ladies and parents take photographs when their babies had used the potty for the first time. And you take photographs and put it in an album. I feel a bit like that when Alfie's being good. Now, if I'd have worked the other way, but I can't because of the angle, I would have gone from dark to light, and that would have been a lovely watercolour effect. But I'm upside down, so Oh, brilliant, Suzanne. So you're working away at the same page as me, are you? Oh, wow. And using the same colours. They'll still be different, though. They'll still be different. Because we all have... That's brilliant. Oh, well, I'm pleased about that. Suzanne says she's picked it up straight away. That's good. It doesn't take much. But I just find it a real relaxing way of watercolouring. And I do this is almost exactly as I do in the Colin Dempster. If you watch that video, there's about 6 videos on one of the pages. And again, that's just a nice way of working. And I am just using the Derwent watercolour pencils for that one, because they lend themselves to some lovely watercolour effects, but it's quite dry. That's good, because you've had a bit of a practice. Suzanne says she's working on other things, but it is a bit of a crinkle. So I'll probably try and iron this page out to see if it works. There's a bit of a crinkle, but there's no show through at all. There's no show through and no bleed through, and that's got to be pretty good in a Bible page. Oh, thank you. Thank you. As long as you don't think it's as boring as watching paint dry. Oh, be quiet, Tara. That's what I aim to do, is inspire everybody to pick up a paintbrush. But it is a very relaxing way, and I have hundreds of pens. I have a drawer full. When I do my room tour, before I change everything, you will see I have more felt pens than I care to mention. But taking the tops on and off is a no-no, and the same with pencils as well. I had intended, if this hadn't worked very well, my last resort would be to use some pencils that my husband bought for me, before I realised that I couldn't use pencils. And luckily my daughter's been using this, and that's okay, but that was a bit of a disaster. And I think their Derwent Colour Soft, and I'll give them a go, actually, because I just instantly keep away from anything except for these riggers, because they are quite easy to use. But I think I'm going to have to probably have a go. I had to go with markers. I had to go with some pencils, and that was a big no-no, because I couldn't use my hand for a week after, so it wasn't worth it. So we'll have to see. So again, that's a little bit crinkly, but there's some quite nice effects on there. And I can always, once it's dry now, but when there's less chance of crinkle, I can go back in and go over that and darken some of these areas. Again, the same shading as before, same dampness as before. So I'm under no illusion that is going to crinkle anymore, and I could get maybe a nice shadow on there. See if I can get a shadow of that leaf on there. That would be nice. So you don't have to be boring just because you're using 72 colours. So I've just got a little bit of a shadow of that leaf. And that's quite fast. That's fairly fast, because I don't have to go back into that if I don't want to. You've always got to think light first. So I really would have gone from dark to light, and then I would have had that nice highlight like up there. Again, I've missed this. I can do this again now. And that's going to give again. You don't get very much though. I have to say, it's not like yesterday when I was... Oops, that was the stem. It's not like yesterday when I was working. When I was working in the watercolour in the Imagimorphia, I got 3 or 4 leaves from one paintbrush. You definitely don't do that with this, because this rigger is very dry. It's not saturated with water, because that would be too much for this page. Did that make any sense? Oh, thanks, Suzanne. Thank you, Timothy. That's good. I hope so, and I hope I'm not in my own light either. That's another thing that I've moved around a little bit. So again, it's now it would be wonderful to use a bigger brush, but you would be too wet. And there's still something quite nice about being in control of these colours. You have to excuse my stomach, I do apologise. It's normally the dogs underneath, it's normally the puppy underneath. Oh, he's sitting, bless him, he's sitting there next to me, being very good. I shouldn't say that because I'd be naughty now. But this is still fairly quick, and you're watercolouring with a watercolour effect in a Bible without crinkling the pages too much, and I think that's got to be good. Oh, now trouble's coming up. Not trouble, sorry. The old dog's turned up now, so and you can still tease that colour out and give quite a nice effect. It's not easy being a big area, I have to say, but a little bit of patience and you'll get there. So possibly come back up from this end now, and that will give me, I just have to have a mouthful of tea, and that should give me a nice natural highlight in this area. Maybe just a little bit too much. So thanks everybody for popping in. I do appreciate everybody's busy, and it's lovely that everybody has a natural news stream. I'm really a bit addicted to Ustream. If I'm not streaming, I'm watching, so it's a little bit addictive. But it's nice being on both sides, I have to say. It's nice being at both sides. I'm going to do this again at this side because I want a little bit of colour coming up there, and then I can have a nice highlight on that side. But again, it's almost dry. There is a bit of a crinkle, but as I say, this is a huge flower to draw, really. It is a huge flower, so if I go back into there, again, I can just stroke some colour on the edge, and that just matches everything up, and this side as well. You can just tease this colour down here. Actually, I think I'm going to leave that because I quite like that really nice highlight. But again, absolutely nothing. There's a bit of crinkle, but you can't even see the colour through. Now, if I did that with Inktense, you'd be able to see it. It wouldn't bleed through, but you would be able to see the colour. But to be able to do that in the Bible pages that are really thin, I think is quite good. It did take me a long time to. It did take me an awful long time to master it. And again, I thought if I could do it on a napkin, I could do it on a Bible page. And so, but from that came some really nice watercolouring on a napkin. So if you watch that video, you'll get the technique for the Bible pages. And I mean, this is a fairly pale colour anyway. This isn't a dark colour. This is number 12, Scarlet Lake. And it is a palish colour anyway. But I seem to have got quite a few colours there. And if I show you what it is, that's the colour, Scarlet Lake. And so when you put that next to that, and that's how much control you've got when it's on a paper palette. And all I'm doing is just stroking the colour. May not work because it might be a bit dry now, this here. All I'm doing is I'm dropping the rigger into the bottom, scraping that from there. I'm wiping it on the baby wipe, and then I'm just very carefully stroking the colour. And that's given me another shadow under that one. So I've got another shadow under there, and that's all I'm doing. But I'm doing that every time. Every time it has to be. But you can see the water is actually clear. And again, tight Yorkshire lass, you don't waste any paint. Most important, that. You don't waste any paint. And that's why I paint like that with the professional watercolours, because, for obvious reasons, none of it's going down the drain. Now, that could be somewhere else, but I'm going to put a bit of a shadow on there. I'll finish this flower and then I'll drink the tea my hubby made, because I'm forever letting it go. This is a bit of a difficult one, this. I've never done this before, so this is the first time with this flower, so it's not brilliant, but you know, it's the best I would hope for. There's a bit of crinkle, but I will be ironing the pages. I shall be watching one of the ladies iron the pages to see if I can get the crinkle out. If I could get my hand down this side, I probably could do a better job. But again, you know, it's damp, it's not going anywhere. So then if you have to shut the book for whatever reason, you know it's not going to do too much damage. So that's quite nice as well. Again, I just want a hint of colour down here. So it doesn't take that long. I've got a nice shadow there, but I'm just going to put this. You see, if I could go in a little spot. Sorry, back alert. Alfie. Alfie, terror. Sorry, I'll just have to get somebody to come and help it. Shut him up. The amount of barks I used to cut out of my videos was unbelievable. There were hundreds of barks. You wouldn't believe the barks I had to cut out. So I used to have to edit all the barks out. And so I must admit it's a lot easier. That's quite a bit of a shadow there, so quite like that as well. And of course people talking downstairs that the people think they can't hear you, and you've got to talk over them. So that's again another thing you've got to think about. Voices don't carry, because my husband says he doesn't have a booming voice, but my husband does have a booming voice. So I'll have to just say to him to stop talking for a moment, because he's booming on the voice. Thank you. Just for 2 seconds, Nigel. Thank you. So that's quite a nice little shadow into there. So if you could pop this shut. Oh, just give me 2 seconds. Hubbies are wonderful, aren't they? Bless them. Just bear with me 2 seconds, and it's always when you're recording. Nigel, could you shut the door, please? Sorry about this. Another one I'll have to stop recording and throw away. Bless them, bless them, bless them. That looks quite nice, that. I don't know. I can use a dark colour next. I've got one more to do. I'm not sure about the stamens. I'm actually going to leave those, but I'm going to put this into here. Why my husband has to have a phone call in the same room at the same time, I have no idea. Right. Right. Oh, golly gumdrops. We have 4 rooms downstairs and he picks this up. Right. I'm going to have to go put my foot down with a firm hand. Nigel? Sorry about that. Oh, gosh. This is why I like to stream when there's nobody in. Oh, dear me. Sorry about that. Oh, he's come back in the room again now. Goodness gracious. A quick slurp of tea before I lose my temper. Ah, oh, dear me, excuse me. So has anybody got any questions? And thanks for popping in. I'm going to finish this flower, then I'll pan out. You can see the difference. Almost finished it. Again, there could be some quite dark down there, but just starting here. I'm going to have to do a time to go in the lounge. Why it doesn't go in the lounge, I don't know. Bless him. Don't you just love husbands? Right. I quite like the fact that that's actually going to nothing, but I think I will put a little bit of colour on it. I might bring that backwards up because I like that idea. Nigel, please, could you go into the other room, please? Thank you. That's very kind of you. Okay. In the lounge, because all I can hear is you. I'm sorry, darling. Thank you. Oh, bless him. Oh dear, he's going to sulk all night now. Bless him. Oopsie. Nearly finished the flower, and I shall show you what it looks like. I do actually quite like that. There's no colour there at all, and that's what you do in watercolours. I remember when I went to a class near, and I used to love going, but I can't drive now, and the gentleman used the dirty water on a white snow scene, and that was all the shadows and all the footprints and the shadows of the trees, and all he used was the dirty water colour, and it was the most perfect colour, but there was no colour in there. It was just all pigment that was in the dirty water, and so sometimes, and then the white snow was the white paper of the watercolour paper, so sometimes you can get a really lovely natural highlight without putting anything on there. So if I lift that up very carefully, and again, because it's if I was left-handed, I would normally put it that side, but of course, because it's the first page. I can't get to it, so if I just put that here, I can show you what it looks like. Whoopsie, sorry, wrong way. So I've got a pale butterfly. I have a pale butterfly, but they are very pale colours, those, but actually I quite like those. I quite like those. But I will try to iron it, but if I just try and put these down, I'm just conscious of the water pot, because if there's anything to spill, my husband put me a pot of tea on there, so that's going to go as well. If I turn this over, you can actually see it, but it's not bled through. If I put that underneath, does that make it worse? So that's quite nice. I'm impressed with that. I can live with that. If that's going to be there, that's fine. I'm quite happy with that. And if I really want to have a flat page, there's a little bit of a crinkle, just a little bit of a crinkle. But the more you use your Bible, the crinkly they get anyway. I wouldn't think that they were going to stay this crisp. I'd like to think they would, but I know for a fact they won't. But I'm quite impressed with that. I'm quite impressed with that. I've got some lovely colour. I'm using my own creative colours, and yet I've got a nice flat page. And I'm using a pot, and that's the colour of the water. So again, not wasting anything. So I'm quite impressed with that. And I can go, as I go back over, and put some more shadow in. So I quite like that. I think that's worked out quite nicely. But the bigger areas are a bigger challenge, I have to say. So does anybody have any questions? Is that as clear as mud, as I like to say? So the same flower here I'll be using around here, and then there's I think they're robins. I think they are. So so it is a little bit crinkled, but that's fine. I didn't think this would work. It was a long shot because oh dear. I knew it would be almost. But I've used, as I say, I think it'll only work with the Derwent watercolour pencils. Definitely not the ink tens. The ink tens, I'll show you my practice on my practice page. So on this page we have Neocolor 2s, we have ink 10s, Gansai Tambi watercolours, everything that's in my little book of colours. And that was in yesterday's video, so I'll just make sure there's no big barkings in there, and I'll pop that one so we can see it. But you can see that there's no bleed through, and because we work quite dry and there's no really big areas, that's dried quite flat, the gold. That's the Gansai Tambi watercolour, and I will be using that for lettering because it's a beautiful gold. It's the best gold I've ever seen for a watercolour. And so you could use everything that's in my book, even the ink 10s, and there's no bleed through, but it does show through. So again, I'm quite impressed with those, and that's nearly everything. That was the test, nearly everything, and it's the same page. pretty sure it's the same page paper. So I was quite impressed with that. And don't know if I'm going to do the lettering, so I should just do the little flowers. And the little flowers are very flat. It's just if you have a large area, which on most of these we haven't. There's some really nice pages. There's the one with the garden gate, and that's why I chose this one, because I like those images better than the other ones. So we should be, these will not even show through at all. I said it's only the full backgrounds. When you're doing big spaces, that might cause a bit of something. But hopefully all the other pages will be okay. But I have to say, I quite like the fact that oh dear me, sorry puppies. I showed them yesterday, and the dogs were asleep most of the day, and they were so good. But when there's people about, there's just so you don't really need this under, but I just thought I'd pop it under to protect everything and to give a nice flat surface to work on. So maybe that works as well quite nicely. And I will try to iron that and see if it will come out crinkle free. Does anybody have any questions, or have I broken chat again? Wouldn't put it past me. Oh, not again, not again. It's very dark here. I think it's because as soon as it gets night time, it's north facing, and although I've got 6 lights on, I haven't got 6 lights on. I haven't got my daylight lamp on. Has that made a difference? Goodness me, that's made a difference. Let's look at that. What a difference that's made. It's because I rushed in this from the car. I'm going to have to swap the lamp. That's better. That's a bit better, isn't it? I can see better now. Sorry about that. I did wonder why. Normally the desk is well lit. That's a tulip, I think. I think that's a nice tulip. But there's plenty of colours to choose from. I think that Madder Carmine is the pink that I used. So I know that that one is this pale pink one here. So I can just finish those few flowers off there. And I missed one actually there, haven't I? Missed one. So I just do these little ones because they're easier to do. I thought it might be easier on this tray and give me some kind of manoeuvrability. And again, I normally put the camera down a smidgen as well. That kind of helps a little bit. Let's see if I can just... You can see all those really subtle, lovely purples I got into there. And again, that's because I was working very dry. So if I go back into the Madder Carmine, I'm sure that was Madder Carmine. Yes, it was Madder Carmine. Just a little bit more and tease the colour through there. And I quite like the fact that they're different as well. That's a different flower, so I'm going to leave that. But I'm just going to remove there because there's another flower there. And again, you can't mess about once you've got your damp brush. You need to get into there with the colour. Tease that colour out. I mean, you don't have to do it, you can do it just a flat colour. They're quite nice. But I like the watercolour effects. Again, if you want to put a little bit of shadow into something, you can just go over again just to show that they've got a little bit of shadow. And you're not adding black or grey, you're just putting the same colour. You're stroking that same colour. You can create a little shadow effect. And now I want a nice, oh that's a daisy, but actually I might do it a yellow daisy. No, how do I do that, a daisy? I'll do that. I'm going to do that, the gold, because this is like the one in the, and it was lovely. The Colin Thompson, there was a little sunflower and I really loved it. So I'm going to do the same. I'm using number 3, which is gold. I'm just teasing the colour out. And this is a smaller area. So I'm getting some more out of there than I should. So actually feeling that was a bit wet, that bit too wet really. And it is a little bit easier if you hold it down. The page, it's just that little bit easier. And when I've got a pale, I'm going over there with a pale because I want that to be darker and that to be paler. That would be naturally darker, and then this would be naturally lighter. So I'm going to get a really nice contrast. That's very pale and that's quite dark in there. The colour's not exact, I think it's the camera that's playing tricks, it's not exact. And again, that's going to be darker, and in theory that should go to a real pale, so that's a natural progression as well, so that would be good. That would be quite dark in there, so it'd be quite dark. Sorry, the puppy wants to come back out. It is a really nice way of working. So again, I think you can do some quite nice thoughtfulness as your Bible journaling, because it's not a colouring in book. It's supposed to bring you, you're supposed to have some deep thought to it. It's not just colouring in. And I think this way of working kind of really lends that self, because there's rattling of pencils and things that I would be doing, and dropping pen tops and so many distractions, whereas this, you really can get into what you're doing and think about what you're doing while you're doing it, if that makes any sense. So again, I really like pale colours, and I think I'm going to put a deep chrome in the middle. And when I say deep chrome, it's deep chrome on here, but the variations of colours are quite nice. This would be a nice colour for the stamens, I think, actually. I think these would be quite nice because they're still a bit pinky. So if I go down here, I think I'm going to use deep chrome for these stamens, and then maybe have a yellow, because the chrome is a bit orangier, so it's a warmer colour. And probably yellow ochre would have been better, but we've done it now, so we've got some colour into this, and then I can say that flower's finished and not bother going back to it then, which again is quite nice. I think I'm going to use deep cadmium. I've decided that looks quite nice, the deep cadmium. So we'll just colour this in here, and I don't know why my husband decides that he wants to talk, but never mind. Never mind. Again, just a drop more. Deep chrome's quite nice. And again, because that one's behind that one, it needs to be a bit darker. And then I'm going to put the deep cadmium. I think that's quite a nice colour. And then I can say that that flower is finished then. Probably straw would have been better looking at the colours, but I couldn't actually see the colours very well from where I am. But this is only a practice. I can iron out the colours next time. They still go together. They're not hugely out, so that's quite nice. It's not such a big disappointment. But I do quite like that. I quite like that. It doesn't show the colour up quite as good as it should do. Let me see if I can have a play. I don't know if that's taking it in or taking it out. That's probably the nearest. There we go. So that's the colours I've been using, and then I just very slowly come back up here with the lemon. You can see, oh sorry, I've got the lamp stuck. You can see I've got a really nice natural highlight on there. I've probably broken chat, haven't I? Probably. Me. Probably. And then there's a little pink slight variation than the butterfly. It is very difficult because I've got about two inches between me and the camera. So oh, there's another yellow there, so I'll do that because otherwise I would forget the colours that I use because I have a memory like a sieve. So we used gold for the flowers. So I'll just finish this flower and then you can see what the colours look like. And I've got some quite nice, she's very pale this, I want a real pale on this one because this is the biggest petal I think. Ah dear me, and some more gold, so we put the gold there. Again, that's going to be a nice deep colour because it's behind the title, and that would be a deep one as well behind the butterfly. And let me see what this is doing. Again, there's still a little bit of colour left on there to give a very, very, very pale. And probably that's going to be too pale because it's behind the other one, so technically that didn't work. But again, we can get some colour into that one. And that's a darker one, and then this one will be lighter on top. So we're getting 3 petals, but maybe that first bit was a bit too damp. Got to be a little bit thingy, and then that's going to be a definitely darker one, and a paler one, and then that will be very pale over there, extremely pale. Oops, sorry, keep knocking the camera. And then, so I'm really pleased that I've got a bit of crinkle, but I mean it could have been a lot worse. And so that's really helping me. But it's a bit of a personal thing, and so I'm not sure how well it's going to work out because I'm not sure how I can kind of do this as a class every week, but we'll see what happens. I think I might just see what I'm doing and then kind of show that. But it must be feeding time at the zoo. So I quite like some of these different colours. And then we had the, it wasn't the deep chrome, was it? It was the was it the Scarlet Lake? No, it was the deep chrome, I think. Yes, it was the deep chrome. Gosh, it was only a few minutes ago and I've forgotten already. Oops. Oopsie. Just a lovely colour, that deep chrome. And then kind of just wanted to put some kind of just darker areas to give it a little bit of depth, these dark areas here. like that little flower. Again, a little bit crinklier than the butterfly, but there were bigger petals. But I'll be quite happy with that. I'll probably get better and better at it, but at the moment I'm very happy with that. So I shall just pull this out. And then you can see what's happening. And if I just do that very carefully, that's my page.
If you want a little tea.
Now I'll have to so that's quite nice, and again we'll turn it over and have a look. And it's a little bit yellow. It's a tiny, let's see if I can lift this up. Be careful, I can't really lift. It's a little bit heavy for me. Let's just see if I can lift it out there. So you can see through it, but that's the purple, and there's a bit of crinkle, but I can actually live with that. I may try and iron it when I finished it, because possibly the pages that are complete, when we try and do the background here, or if we do the background, then possibly it will crinkle. And it's too dark, is that? But it's a nice process. Difficult when you're doing it with I'm trying to get the brush literally in that space, so it was a bit difficult. I couldn't see the colours either, so but I would think sitting here and working this way is very, is it meditative? So thanks for joining me. As I say, I was quite impressed with that. I'd say really didn't want to start using gesso, because if I was again away, I'd have to wait for it to dry, which would be kind of 20 minutes, half an hour. So I wanted a way of working that would be quick and easy, and without many. I take bottles and jars and then big bottles to wash the brush out. So again, I've just got my little colours in this book, and I have a little plastic divider for there, and I'm away. So really like working this way, I have to say. And of course love the little book, absolutely amazing. Can't wait to start my journey. Can't wait to start my journey. So thank you for joining me, and everybody on YouTube watching watching the recording. Thanks for joining me, and do have a go on a napkin first if you're frightened of ruining your pages, which I was a bit scared of, but I can just about live with that. And as I'm going to have a look on YouTube for the ladies so that I can iron it completely flat, but I am quite impressed with that, and I do love the colours. I love very, very watercolouring colours, which I think lend themselves very well to this type of colouring in.